Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, the First Lady set to land in Bakersfield in just a few hours ahead of a scheduled visit to Delano. Details of what's planned for her trip coming up.
And new data released overnight on the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine in kids as young as 12 years old. We'll tell you what it says.
Plus, it has been 100 days since 2 little boys were reported missing from California City. The entire county is invested in finding out what happened to the boys as the investigation stretches on. We'll have an in-depth look at the case and the latest developments. This is Wednesday, March 31st, 2021. And good morning here at 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher, both of us in studio for that special report coming up this morning at 6:30 on the missing boys.
Yeah, we have a lot to get to. Yeah. We'll also talk about your forecast with Kevin Charette. He is standing by, taking a look at the warm temperatures that we've been seeing over the last couple of days. And Kev, we saw, what was it, 80? We were in the 80s a couple days ago. Not as warm yesterday, but definitely beautiful out there.
Yeah, we were in the upper 70s yesterday, but we will be in the 80s today. In fact, we're looking at some mid-80s around the area, and the temperatures only go up. In fact, we might be looking at record-breaking temperatures on Friday. And as we take a look outside right now, we've got the clear skies, 51 degrees for Bakersfield. Southeast wind at 3 miles per hour, and you can see throughout the day here, we'll be looking at temperatures right near 85 by 3 o'clock. And then for the Tehachapi area, there's a light breeze out that way, and 46. A southeast wind at 18. And the strongest of the winds right now over the 5 near the Grapevine, so keep that in mind. And you can see throughout the day, we're expecting the mid-60s. I'll have much more in your forecast coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. Our top story this morning, First Lady Jill Biden is headed to the Central Valley. She'll be landing in Bakersfield later today. Dr. Biden is marking the Day of Action at the 40 Acres National Historic Landmark in Delano today. Governor Gavin Newsom will also join the First Lady. The Cesar Chavez Foundation, United Farm Workers, and the UFW Foundation teamed up for the event. 40 Acres tells us they provided nearly 3,000 vaccines to farm workers throughout the month of March. We will have complete coverage of the First Lady's visit today on 17 News at 5.
Newly appointed California Senator Alex Padilla is spearheading an effort to combat child poverty in Kern County. Yesterday, during a virtual phone call with leaders from the nonprofit Community Action Partnership of Kern, Padilla promised resources of the United States government are dedicated to families in need, thanks to the American Rescue Act of 2021. Padilla says in addition to sending stimulus payments to individuals, the bill will also help young families and children across the nation. That, he argues, is because the legislation will allow parents to reduce their tax bill by claiming a child tax credit. Jeremy Tobias, the CEO of CAPK, says this legislation will help, especially in a county where nearly 30% of kids live in poverty.
The intent of the American Rescue Plan aligns directly with CAPK's mission and purpose. We are committed to serving all communities as they work to become more equitable and prosperous places to live.
Here's a look at how much money Kern is set to get from the American Rescue Act. The county government will receive close to $175 million, while the city of Bakersfield, $96 million. Delano received $14 million. Ridgecrest and Wasco each got roughly $5.5 million. The Central Valley as a whole, according to Padilla, $2.5 billion.
Breaking overnight, Pfizer announced this morning its COVID-19 vaccine is 100% effective in kids as young as 12, a step toward possibly beginning shots in the age group before they head back into the school in the fall. Pfizer's vaccine is authorized for ages 16 and older, but health officials say vaccinating children of all ages will be critical to stopping the pandemic. In a study of 2,200 volunteers ages 12 to 15, preliminary data showed there were no cases of COVID-19 among fully vaccinated adolescents, compared to 18 cases among those given dummy shots, according to Pfizer. Our local health department continues to play catch-up in processing coronavirus deaths after the county's worst days of the pandemic, and we continue to learn just how deadly the pandemic was, especially after the holidays. Yesterday, Kern Public Health confirmed an additional 8 lives lost. That brings our death toll to nearly 1,300 lives lost since the beginning of the pandemic. January was by far our deadliest month of the pandemic, with more than a quarter of all coronavirus deaths happening in that month alone. And while we continue to learn how devastating the coronavirus pandemic was in Kern County, we're seeing some of the most encouraging signs in nearly a year that the spread is significantly decreasing. Only 28 new positive cases were announced yesterday. On average, 61 people are testing positive every day. We haven't been that low since early June. New state data shows there are 65 people in the hospital with COVID-19. 10 people are in the ICU, making it the lowest number of people in intensive care in nearly 6 months.
The state's preparing for a surge in demand for the COVID-19 vaccine as eligibility rules start to change this week. 17's Ashley Zavala is in our Capitol Bureau to explain.
The California Department of Public Health said Tuesday the state is expecting larger vaccine shipments than usual in the coming weeks, with 4.5 million doses coming into the state between this week and next. The state is expecting to receive an average of 2.5 million doses a week in the first half of April, working up to more than 3 million a week by the end of that month. Governor Newsom has said the state is preparing for a surge in demand. CDPH said Tuesday the state, along with its third-party administrator Blue Shield, has 2,100 vaccination sites across California with the ability to administer 4 million doses per week. As of Tuesday, health officials said 17.6 million doses have been administered in the state, with now about 6.4 million Californians fully vaccinated. Funding from the recently passed American Rescue Plan in Washington will help California's vaccination effort, according to U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. Padilla said Tuesday $1 billion will be distributed to about 175 California community health clinics to expand vaccine access to vulnerable parts of the state. The senator tweeted in part that it's an investment in Californians who need it most. State data showed as of Tuesday about 3.46 million Californians in the least healthy zip codes have been vaccinated. The state has set a short-term goal to vaccinate 4 million of those Californians living in the most vulnerable zip codes. Once that happens, state officials say they will relax the rules for the state's blueprint for reopening, allowing counties to move through the tiered reopening system more easily. Reporting in Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, 17 News.
As California prepares to open up vaccine eligibility here in Kern County, more people can already receive the vaccine. Some areas of Kern are listed in the lower quartiles on the Healthy Living Index, and the state wants to make more vaccines available in those places. Nearly all residents 16 years old and up can sign up for a vaccine. There are some exceptions. People living in these 6 zip codes on your screen are not eligible under the new criteria. That's 93287, 93311, 93312, 93314, 93561, and 93531. We have more information on our website, kget.com. And remember, no matter what your zip code is, the state is opening up vaccinations to anyone 50 years and older this Thursday. And 2 weeks later, on Thursday, April 15th, everyone across the state who's 16 and older will be eligible. And you can sign up for your appointment using the state's website, myturn.ca.gov. You can also call 833-422-4255 to schedule your appointment. Making news around the nation, President Biden heads to Pittsburgh today to roll out part 1 of his infrastructure plan. He's calling it the American Jobs Plan.
Yeah, Tracy Ponce has new details on what's in it and how he plans to pay for it.
Alex and Maddie, good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's paying for this plan. Whether taxes will go up, that's already stirring up politics on Capitol Hill. President Biden planning to lay out his vision today. Administration officials overnight filled in the details.
To raise their game and provide more help.
Administration officials say the Biden infrastructure plan being announced by the president in Pittsburgh today creates jobs over 8 years by building roads, bridges, and transit, updating lead pipes and the power grid, providing affordable housing, home care, and universal broadband.
Disconnect. And let's try it again.
Investing in supply chains, electric cars, and clean energy, especially in coal country.
We can put as many pipe fitters and miners and us to work capping those wells at the same price that they would charge to dig those wells.
How many jobs will this plan create? Officials wouldn't say. The cost, $2 trillion, paid for by raising corporate taxes to 28% over the next 15 years.
I'd love to do an infrastructure bill. I'm not interested in raising taxes across the board on America. I think it will send our economy in the wrong direction.
Administration officials report President Biden is already reaching out to Republicans for support and is open to ideas, but not delay. Democrats say if they can't get Republicans on board, they'll go it alone with the vote again. This is just part one. Part two of the infrastructure plan rolling out next month, focusing on health, education, and child care. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
5:20 now, and gripping testimony yesterday during the trial of the officer accused of murdering George Floyd.
Bystanders at the scene, including several who were underage, offering emotional accounts in a tense courtroom. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reports.
On the witness stand, Donald Williams fought back tears as he heard the 911 call he placed while George Floyd was dying.
He just pretty much just killed this guy that wasn't resisting arrest. He had his knee on the dude's neck the whole time.
Williams, a bystander at the scene last May, said he studied mixed martial arts and told Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer, was placing Floyd in a kill or blood choke.
Did call the police on the police.
Right. And why did you do that?
Because I believe I witnessed a murder.
During cross-examination today, a tense exchange with Chauvin's attorney.
When you do a blood choke, what you're trained on generally is to limit the blood supply to both sides of the neck.
No, a blood choke is attack one side of the neck.
Chauvin's defense team is arguing Floyd died from underlying health conditions and drugs in his system. The next several witnesses testified off camera since they were minors at the time.
I heard George Floyd saying, "I can't breathe, please get off of me."
Darnella Frazier, now 18, shot the cell phone video that ricocheted across the world because she said what was happening to Floyd wasn't right.
It seemed like he knew it was over for him.
If not for that video, George Floyd likely wouldn't be a household name.
When I look at George Floyd, I look at my dad, I look at my brothers, I look at my cousins, my uncles, because they are all black. I look at how that could have been one of them. It's been nights I stayed up apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more.
A Minneapolis firefighter testified she was stopped from giving medical assistance to Floyd when she first arrived at the scene.
When you couldn't do that, how did that make you feel?
Totally distressed.
Were you frustrated?
Yes.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
We're back in your 17 Business Watch. An iconic American cereal brand is turning 50 and rolling out a new flavor to celebrate. We'll have to get you a box to try, Alex.
Oh, no.
Fruity Pebbles, marking its 50th birthday by launching a new limited edition birthday cake Pebbles cereal. It features confetti-like flakes in blue, pink, and yellow with a classic vanilla birthday cake and frosting flavor. The new cereal will arrive on store shelves nationwide in April and be available while supplies last.
We need to get Kevin in on this and
wash
wash it down with a mango-flavored Pepsi.
That's what I was going to say, or maybe a Peeps-flavored Pepsi.
No, that's talk about a sugar rush there. Well, 1 year after coronavirus outbreaks on ships docked the cruise industry, plans are in place to set sail once again. And experts say pent-up demand could signal some relief for companies struggling to stay afloat. CNBC's Seema Moody has more.
The first major coronavirus outbreak happened last February on board the Diamond Princess in Japan. 700 people were infected and 9 ultimately died as passengers were left stranded on board for weeks on end. A year later, most cruise lines are still docked, while many of their crews waited out at sea. Captain Kate McHugh has been on board this Celebrity Edge ship for a total of 320 days off the coast of the Bahamas.
A lot of times I get the question, how come you don't just dock the ship and everybody go home? And the reason why is because if you rest, you rust. So we're all here maintaining the ship. We went from a crew of 1,320. Currently, we're 107 on board.
The job losses have added up. More than 50% of U.S. jobs tied to the cruise industry have been lost. Despite the suspension, loyal cruise travelers are eager to get back on board. Review site Cruise Critics saw a more than 55% increase in cruise shoppers in the first 2 months of 2021.
What you're seeing is
enthusiasm about the pace of the vaccine coming out.
But the $150 billion industry is making changes. COVID testing on board, required temperature checks, the beloved buffet no longer self-serve, and sailings will be much shorter, at least in the beginning.
A lot of them have their own islands in the Bahamas, which are essentially a bubble where they can control the vaccinations, they can control the testing, and naturally we're going to need Mexico.
A vaccine could be ultimately what gets the cruise lines back to sea. Royal Caribbean and Norwegian Cruise Line now making it a requirement that all their crew be fully vaccinated. But the question is, will the industry also make it a requirement for passengers? The industry still deciding. For CNBC Business News, I'm Seema Modi.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.